What is up, wrestling fans, and welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint edition of the Smark Moments Smack Talk podcast. I, of course, am your host, as always, Tony Mango, and I'm going to be talking about what just happened at WWE NXT Halloween Havoc 2025, which just went down. So, of course, we got the fresh results of everything. We got the potential future that we can break down a little bit, because we actually have some title changes that I did not see coming, and I was very annoyed that I didn't pre-write that stuff. Of course, as always, I always want to know what you have to say as well. So as I'm going through this podcast, if you have anything you agree with, you disagree with, whatever it might be, you drop a comment below on whatever platform it is you're listening to this on, or if you are listening to one without one, head on over to one of the ones that does. And, you know, if you are in the live chat for this, then thank you for joining us live on YouTube. Keep in mind that we also do everything else when it comes to, like, I check the comments on smarkatmoment.com, and you know, if you're on Spotify or whatever it might be. So even if you're outside of the YouTube community, thank you for joining us in one way or another. And I see that Peter's in the chat right now. What's up, Peter? We, of course, have matches to break down here, and surprise outcomes for it, like I had said. So it's something that, you know, when a pay-per-view can do something that's surprising, it's 50-50. You know, it's either... Actually, it's kind of one with three options. You either have, like, it's such a surprise that it's awesome. You have, oh my god, that was so stupid, and I never would have imagined they would have done that kind of surprise. And then you have the, oh, I didn't see that coming. I'm kind of curious kind of direction. And that's where these mostly go for me. So keep that in mind. It's not like a, oh my god, surprises means this was the best pay-per-view of the year, nor does it mean, oh, there were surprises and I absolutely hated everything or something like that. So... yeah, something actually happened. That was really surprising. I guess 5 in the chat saying what something happened. I was even saying at the beginning of this, I was talking to Caroline, and I was like, you know, well, I don't think that anything's really going to go down. Like, this is going to be a pretty uneventful pay-per-view. It's just going to be a simple matter of swapping out names for the coverage. I'm not going to have to do any extra news posts. And of course, they end up doing like 4 news posts or something from this. One of them being something that's unrelated to, you know, the specifics of like what happened here, but they announced NXT Gold Rush is going to be a 2-week event on, I think it was November 18th and the 25th at Madison Square Garden, at the theater at Madison Square Garden. So I'm like, all right, maybe I'll take a look and maybe see what's going on with her tickets. And then I'll immediately go, absolutely not, because I'm sure it'll be way more expensive than it should be. But nevertheless, you know, I could walk 20 minutes in that direction and see what happens. But that is going to feature not only NXT titles, but also AAA titles in some fashion. They didn't explain what. Evolve Championship, so the men and the women's title potentially on the line. It's the only 2 belts on that. And TNA Championships. And then even stranger, they announced an Evolve Women's Championship match and a TNA Knockouts World Championship match for next Tuesday. So they're going to do 2 title matches for 2 non-NXT titles the 2 weeks that are before the thing that's about the Gold Rush thing. So I was already confused about like where they're going with championships right now. And when the matches go down and everything, some title changes happen that I was like, okay, now I have no idea where they're going for this either. So, nevertheless, the first thing was whole, you know, an hour-long pre-show. Doesn't matter if you didn't watch it, you didn't miss anything. But Javon Evans and Leon Slater then open up the show against Leon Slater and Javon Evans against Mr. Iguana and Parka. Didn't have anything on the line, didn't, you know, what's in for a number 1 contender spot or anything like that. It was just quite literally Parka comes out there with his get up and Mr. Iguana does his stuff. And then you got flips and stuff from Slater and Evans, and everybody just kind of leaves, you know, being like, hey, nice job. So to no surprise, Slater and Evans win. And it's just an opening match that went on longer than I thought that it was going to be honest. I was kind of expecting it to wrap up like, you know, 2/3 of the way through it or so, but it's a good enough match. See, Josh is in the chat here too. This felt like a very weird show. I'm trying to gather my thoughts before I do my post show. Yeah. That's what I'm like, still kind of gathering my thoughts for some of the things in the future, and I'm going to backtrack in some way too. Speaking about gathering thoughts, though, and everybody that's leaving comments and doing whatever it might be, keep in mind the Discord server that we have. So if you do have comments and you just want to chat it up throughout the week on any kind of point in particular, we've got a bunch of different channels over there. So hop on over to the server. And if you are leaving a comment below on YouTube, make sure that you also hit the like button, subscribe, and ring your notification bell to get your email alerts for everything that we've got going on here at Smark Out Moment. And of course, when you're doing that, keep in mind too that if you click on the thanks button or you click on the join button to join the YouTube channel membership, that'll help us out a great lot too. Patreon.com/SmarkOutMoment is exactly the same thing. So at this point, I've kind of said these things a million times. If you don't know what it is, I could fill you in more on the future or whatever like that. But Redbubble and TeePublic as well when it comes to the merchandise side of things. So keep all that stuff in mind. Come back to that a little bit later on for some more plugs. But, the setup of what they were doing here with the beginning of the match, beginning of the night being that opening match, I understand. It's a fun match to start off the show. After that, they went over to the Day of the Dead match for the NXT North American Championship, the Men's North American Championship. And I was a little bit surprised about that too, because it's like, okay, do the AAA guys and then do the AAA guys instead of balancing the card out a little bit differently. But El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr., more fun to say than to type out, going in, fighting Ethan Page and whatever. They never clarified what the Day of the Dead rules were, and it turns out it was as stupid as it could possibly be. They dimmed the lights and put like a purplish blue filter on, and then they fought with regular weapons. And I don't even mean like regular weapons that are stylized as like Halloween things or Day of the Dead things or whatever. No, just like 3 steel chairs, plain generic black steel chairs, the Slim Jim tables, the brown Slim Jim tables, and I believe like 2 trash cans that were just generic trash cans. So they didn't do anything that was supposed to be like Day of the Dead or Halloween Havoc or anything. This was so incredibly stupid. This was the epitome of the lazy effort that they've been doing with Halloween Havoc over the years, where they've done the whole like it's a trick or street fight, or it's a Brooklyn Boneyard match, or a fucking whatever you want to call them, and they would be like just generic DQ matches, but at least like Johnny Gargano and Damian Priest were like fighting with tombstones and different things, and now they just didn't even bother with that. So I thought that sucked. But the match itself was fun. Ethan Page retains the title. No surprises there. And then the big thing to come out of this outside of that was when he ripped El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr.'s mask. But he ripped it in half like this, so he only saw him like from like nose up. But that was actually one of the more surprising things of the night, because when it comes down to luchadors, that means more than a title does. And that kind of made me think like, oh, you know what? Maybe we're going to see El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. I don't know if you could just call him Wagner Jr. Wagner. Let's call him that. I don't know if we're going to see Wagner in WWE, and maybe they're going to do a Santos Escobar with him, where they decide to take the mask off of him and just be like, just be yourself. We want to see the human being. Maybe. Or maybe they just thought that would make it more fun, and he was like, okay, sure, why not? I don't know. But I thought that it was very strange that they did that. And, Page retains. Fun enough match. Double checking in chat right now. Sticking around, though, because I want to hear your thoughts on 3 things from this show. I called it a Sin Cara match. Oh, my life. Yeah, the Sin Cara, or God forbid if Sin Cara would have gone up against The Fiend, and they would have had like the clash of the different colors going on. It was really stupid. Backstage, Jordan Grace had another thing with Kalani Jordan, and that has apparently set up the TNA Knockouts Championship match for on Tuesday. I didn't like the segment. I thought it was stupid, but at least they had like some kind of costumes on, so whatever. Gold Rush announcement came after that. Then there was the Women's North American Championship match, and of course, if you didn't remember the whole setup for the whole thing, Sol Ruca was injured. She was not supposed to be cleared to compete and actually defend the title at this pay-per-view. So Zaria decided, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to defend it for you. And, I'll retain it for you. And she didn't. I I thought that would have been the most interesting scenario. I had mentioned this on the prediction side of things, that I wanted Zaria to retain the title for Sol Ruca and then eventually be like, this proves that I'm the rightful champion and I think that I could beat you, and like, you know, she could kick her Kane out and turn full heel. Instead, they just went with Zaria is such a damn good friend that she was so concerned over Sol Ruca that she opened herself up to be attacked by Blake Monroe. And I don't know if that's, you know, if the way to break up the two is to have them be even better friends. So maybe they're both coming up. I don't know, but it seems like it's still going to lead to that direction and just be a really weird way of doing that. And I don't know if I like that. I would say more so I don't. But we'll see how it plays out, I guess. So Blake Monroe winning the secondary title, and that got even more confusing when later things happened. But I am agreeing with Josh in the chat. I don't think Sol Ruca is actually injured. I think that this is just a story, and that it's going into being like, you know, we did that just, or maybe like that she's not necessarily injured, but like maybe she like slightly sprained, you know, or twisted her ankle or something like that. You know what I mean? Or they're like, give it a week and we're fine. I think he even goes to AAA and wins Wagner's title. That would be more likely. That's the thing. Like, if he wins the Latin American Championship and he can hold both, call himself the greatest American, you know, whether it's Latin, South American, or North American, and then he can, I don't know, win some Eastern Championship or something like that. I think that is probably, like, if they don't go in that direction, I'd be surprised. And, yeah, was what it was, though. But I don't think Sol Ruca is injured. I agree with that. And it's just weird that Blake Monroe is the secondary champion instead of the main champion, because after that, well, in between there was like a little backstage thing. Miles Bourne wants a match with Josh Briggs. So does Tavian Heights. There you go. They fight each other. They went to the, that was actually after that one. It doesn't matter. It was the thing with Ren Sinclair and Kendall Sky and Kendall Gray, and Kendall Gray is going to defend the women's title from Evolve against Lash Legend. Okay. But Blake Monroe wins the secondary title, and then after that, Tatum Paxley wins the NXT Women's Championship, and that was something that I was, again, completely writing off. They took everybody that was ringside. Everybody got ejected. Izzy Dame comes back into the ring. She's got the title belt, and it seems like she's going to hit Tatum Paxley, but Tatum moves out of the way. Jacy gives her the rolling encore. I think that's the name of her finisher, the rolling encore, the elbow, and or the forearm, or whatever it is. But the that leads to a distraction. Tatum Paxley ends up hitting, I don't know what her finisher is called. It's really weird. It's like she like holds her behind her and like flips her in like some kind of a weird way. It takes a little bit to set it up, but when she pulls it off, it actually looks kind of cool. So Paxley wins the title, and I would not have seen that coming from, if you would have said, there's going to be a title change on this show, I would not have gone with Tatum Paxley. The whole like underdog thing is interesting because she did kind of just like, it's like they woke up and realized that they wanted to push her out of 4 years. They just did that in the like past like 3 weeks. But I don't know where they go from there. Does that mean that it's just going to be fast track to Izzy Dame, or is that to, I don't know, because I've been wrong about everything for the NXT Women's Championship this year. Every step of the way with like putting it on Jordan Grace or Blake Monroe or Jacy Jayne or the not TNA title and the way that gets, I've gotten everything wrong when it comes to this. So I don't know if this is going to be one of those things where like, oh, well, it's clearly just Tatum's holding it for Lola Vice or Jada Parker or whoever the fuck. I don't have any idea. I'm giving up on trying to predict the NXT Women's title picture for the near future. Peter saying Izzy will be champion by January. Yeah, see, like it's, it could be as simple as that. Or it could be like one of those things where I didn't think Jacy was going to hold it all that long, I'm very happy that Jacy won, that Tatum won. Agree with Josh. It's fun to see people achieve goals at that, seems like they're good people and stuff. If it's bad people, then, fuck them. But yeah, Tatum seems like a girl that went through a lot and it's been like progressing a lot and stuff. So like, yeah, she makes her way to the championship. Good for her. That's awesome. I like that. That probably means that there's maybe a chance that Jacy, Jayne, and maybe the rest of Fatal Influence, maybe somebody else isn't going to be brought up at the same time, but maybe Jacy is going to be added to the roster on like Raw and SmackDown soon or something. Kind of the same way as like we're waiting for Oba Femi. Same with Trick. I don't know. But I didn't see that coming. So that was a shocker. And then after that, DarkState wins the NXT tag titles back in the Broken Rules match where they beat the Hardys. And I'm like, God damn it. I didn't write any of these things up ahead of time. So that sucks. I don't think that DarkState is a fun group. I think that they are just retribution again. And I wasn't super thrilled about their first title reign. And then now it's just reverting it back. So I don't really know why they decided that they needed to put the belt on the Hardys other than to just get a footnote into TNA. Because if anybody looks up like the Dudley Boyz, then it's like, oh, there's a WWE element to it. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But yeah, it would have been more fun if they would have just kept the titles. So it's back to also Dion, Lennox, and Osiris Griffin again. So they specifically avoided Saquon Sugars and Cutler James twice now. And I think that's very strange too. Like they're not freebirding these. They're just giving it to those two. So if that's the case, why aren't they the leaders of the group? Or like, you know, it's just this group doesn't work. I don't think it. I think there's 4 elements of people that could be good in other groups and not 4 people that are put in a good story. But yeah, new tag champs, but Leon Slater and Javon Evans immediately afterward were like, well, we're going to go for the tag titles. So I don't think maybe that's the plan, is that it's just going to go over to them. I don't think so. I think that they're just going to be set up to lose and just like have a match, whatever. But maybe that's the plan, because that would be way more fun than DarkState. I'll tell you that. And then main event, Ricky Saints retains the NXT Championship over Trick Williams. There's like nothing to really say about it. That's just standard match, you know, whatever. Where do they go from here? I think Trick goes up to the main roster. I think that Ricky Saints sticks around at least until Stand and Deliver. And I could not tell you who the next champion is. That's another thing where it's like, Josh Briggs isn't getting over enough to be able to be in that position. They don't have anybody that's like waiting in the bubble, kind of the way that like Ricky Saints was. I don't think that there's anybody on the indies that they're like planning on signing that would be a big enough deal, because it's like they're not going to get Daniel Garcia, for instance, or something. But maybe they have a plan for somebody like that in the next couple months they're going to end up signing that person. But I don't know. Maybe it's just Miles Bourne wins the championship down the line or something. But nevertheless, that is the NXT Halloween Havoc post show. Of course, that's all the stuff we know right now. So coming on Tuesday, we're going to have the more things with the TNA Knockouts Championship, the Speed tournament final, and all those, you know, things that they announced there. And then we're going to, next thing we go, it's going to be the Gold Rush thing, and it's going to be the next pay-per-view, the Deadline one or whatever like that. So we're already looking at like WrestleMania season, which I don't like that. It's like speed running this whole year. But yeah, I don't know. Drop your comments below. Let me know what you think about all those things, what other kind of theories you got, and whatever like that is going on. Of course, if you want to follow everything else that's happening, go to amangotree.com or anthonymango.com. Find the links to everything that I've got for Smark Out Moment and for Fanboys Anonymous and for my own personal accounts and stuff. I have to add Shelby Oaks to my Letterboxd from watching that earlier today. So reminder to future Tony to go ahead and open up Letterboxd and do that. But if you're interested in my movie review things, I post some stuff there every once in a while. So keep all that in mind too. We'll have some updates to the Fantasy League in some fashion pretty soon, just to check in on the amount of points that I have over those two other guys. Yeah, Rob and Callum are getting smoked on this one. So anyway, that's it for this episode. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the live chatters. Thank you for everybody that's following the next thing we got coming your way, which is going to be the Saturday night's main event predictions, because that's the next show that's happening next Saturday. But in the meantime, go ahead and check all that stuff out. Make sure you're subscribed, hit that like button and all that. And I will see you in the next episode. Adios for now, everybody. This has been another Smark Out Moment, and I'm being counted out.